Hello horror hounds, welcome to my horror house. I've just finished The Pyramid from 2014, a quasi-found footage horror movie that has creatures in it that are so outrageous that if they'd been handled properly, this might have tipped a fairly generic film over into gonzo cult status. We'll talk about those creatures in a little bit. What The Pyramid is about is a father and daughter archaeological team who have uncovered a three-sided pyramid a couple of hundred miles out into the desert. It has been covered by sands over millennia and is due to rewrite the Egyptian history books. Their discovery is being documented, aren't they always in these found footage movies, by a two-person documentary crew, and inevitably the father, the daughter, and the two documentarians end up going inside after they send a NASA Mars rover in, and then that they lose contact with that, so they have to go in and get it back out. But there are some things inside there that don't want them to get out. It's not a bad premise. It's not wildly original. I'm an absolute mark for sort of Egypt-centric horror. I love pretty much most mummy movies, and I just think that the setting and the atmosphere of that country, and especially the history as well, is so evocative that I'm an easy mark for stuff like that. So I was incredibly disappointed by The Pyramid. When we start off outside, and you can have shots of the archaeological dig and Cairo and the actual pyramids, and just shoot the pyramids. All the money's there on the screen. I'm really on board. We quite quickly go into the pyramid itself, and then the film becomes more something akin to As Above, So Below and The Descent, but nowhere near as good as either of those movies. I said a minute ago that it was sort of a quasi-found footage movie. There is some very strange choices made here. There are a lot of shots through the camera of the cameraman of the documentary crew. The daughter of the archaeological team also has a little over-ear camera, and we get some shots from there. But there are also plenty of shots throughout that are just standard shots, not found footage at all. It's not particularly jarring, but you do notice when you jump back to, we're doing a found footage scene now, are we? Oh, we've stopped doing the found footage now, have we? It's just a very strange notion. I'm not necessarily against it. I just don't think I quite understand it. What works, and this will be quite short, is that once they inevitably get turned around inside the labyrinth that is the inside of the pyramid, and slowly discover that the design of this pyramid is very, very different to previous pyramids, and is actually designed to keep things in, rather than preserve them inside. There are a couple of moments of sort of claustrophobia and getting lost that did affect me. I think claustrophobia in films is something that can really seriously get under my skin. Heights as well, and depths. So we're ticking all the right boxes here. Unfortunately, it just reminds you, even when it's working, it reminds you of the much more accomplished The Descent, or As Above, So Below. The claustrophobic scenes in The Descent are far, far superior than they are to The Pyramid. And the real downer about the few scenes that do work is that rather than peopled by the sort of interesting, excellently acted and excellently written characters from something like The Descent, you've got actors here who are really fighting against a paper-thin script and paper-thin characterization. So there's very little rooting for anyone going on in this film, I'm afraid. An awful lot of scenes do seem to have an improvisational quality to them, and I suspect that if I'm right, the filmmakers thought that, well, seeing as the Blair Witch Project was pretty much, well, it's entirely improvised. The actors there were given cues for scenes by their directors. The difference between the Blair Witch Project and this is that the Blair Witch Project had, I believe, hundreds of hours of footage to construct a narrative from. Here, it really feels like scenes are directed so as to be, right, now you're angry with him and you're looking at the hieroglyphs and you just really want to get out, go. And without any sort of preparation and with just sort of this improv vibe, everyone just starts shouting and it gets on my nerves really very, very quickly. Dennis O'Hare is the archaeologist. I kind of felt for him in this. He's probably most known for his roles in the American Horror Story TV series. I rate him. I think he's decent. And I could really see him trying to wring some sort of character out of what he was given. And if you start to feel sorry for actors you like in projects, that's not a good sign that you yourself are enjoying the movie. The cameraman is played by James Buckley, and that was a strange bit of casting for me. In the UK, he's most famous for his role in the comedy TV series, the wildly popular The In-Betweeners. And there were times in this where he was really emotional, really trying to do something different. And other times where you get the feeling that he was being told to bring the comedy relief, bring the light relief. So lots of sort of comedy asides and things like that. But the film continues to flip-flop between, is everyone being really serious or are people quippy? Have people forgotten the scene that's literally just happened so they can say dialogue that's in this scene? After seeing the walls of the previous room washed with your partner's blood and his body now disappearing, would you then, one corridor and one room away, really be that interested in hieroglyphics again? There doesn't seem to be any sort of through line or any connectivity from one scene to the next, which is another really frustrating thing about the film. The air inside the pyramid is toxic and people slowly start being overcome by this mold toxin, but don't worry about that. It affects the plot not one iota. Absolutely pointless for that being in there. The creatures down there though, oh my, so ridiculous that they could have almost saved this movie. They are feral, hairless cats that have survived by each generation eating the last, like rats. I'm not sure that works, but you just kind of have to go with it. So every once in a while there are these feral cats around that start munching and attacking, but there's also something bigger down there. Because these cats can't pull this body up the wall and up into that shaft there, and they can't grab this person and pull them into this tunnel. There is something bigger going on. And the reveal of what that is so gonzo, so sort of nuts, that if it wasn't rendered in such poor CG, it could have possibly potentially been just silly fun. But as it is, it's just, they seem to be going for the kind of shock type ending you had at the end of Wreck, when you think you're dealing with zombies, but what you're actually dealing with, is, spoilers for Wreck here, is possession, and then there's this shuffling sort of weird, strange Resident Evil the games looking character seen through the night vision goggles. Oh yeah, there's night vision in this, but it's not used until the very end, because I think they the filmmakers just went, oh shit, we need to have some night vision stuff because this is a found footage movie. So yeah, let's do this bit in night vision for just because we need to. The creature at the end turns out to be the actual god Anubis, who is in an absolute mangling of ancient Egyptian theology, is trying to find one pure heart so that he can ascend to the afterlife. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. He's pulling people's hearts out and weighing them, but they go full on Anubis, with an awful raggedy looking CG, essentially lichen looking type thing, which I guess is fair. So completely crazy that you're gonna start off with we're gonna do a sort of found footage movie in an ancient pyramid that's a little bit like The Descent, except rather than those underground dwelling creepers in The Descent, it's going to be lots of hairless cats. Bear with me, because by the time we get to the end, we're going to find out that the pyramid is actually a prison to lock Anubis in for all eternity, so he stops eating people's hearts. It could have been so much fun, but it's put together so shoddily without any commitment to the found footage. It just seems that they think that this is kind of hot right now, so if we put the frills of this around it, it feels like they thought that they could get away with doing things on the cheap, rather than trying to lean into any of the strengths of found footage. And anytime found footage wouldn't work, we don't have to think our way around the corners to make it work. We'll just stop doing the found footage. It's sort of like some glitter that you put. Remember when you make cards for your mum when you're a little kid, and you do the nice drawing, and you with the crayon you do your message on the inside, and then you get some glue and you put it round the edge, and you just put a mess of glitter all around. That's what the found footage is in this movie. It's a glued on mess of glitter, rather than having anything fundamental to do with the movie or the need for, I want to tell the story this way. And if you're going to use things like that so cynically, it really does show in the final product. It's not a good movie. There's a couple of moments of decent tension that are absolutely squandered with horrible characters that you don't care about. There are 2-3 moments of pretty good gore, but even that's not enough. In this day and age, that is not enough. You can see plenty of gore-filled movies that are actually expertly made and enjoyable from start to finish. The Pyramid, sadly, is not going to join the ranks of my fun Egypt-centric horror movies. It's going to join the ranks of sort of found footage stinkers that I ain't never going to watch again.
I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.